Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Module 2. This is your professor, Dr. Twist. I thought I would narrate the PowerPoint presentation. Some people like to, just kind of listen for a couple minutes to make sure that they understand what's expected. So I did provide a PowerPoint, just a regular PowerPoint, but then I also will provide these narrations just to clarify. So keep in mind that this module starts today from May 23rd until the 30th, and I will see you on the 30th. And the expectation is that between now and then, that you are starting to solidify your definition and your understanding of creativity, that you're beginning to identify approaches to problems and problem solving, explore some theories that seek to explain creativity. And I'm going to ask you to watch a TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson about thoughts about creativity in schools and whether or not you agree with that or disagree with that based on what you currently know about creativity and problem solving. So please note that you do have chapters 7 and 8 due in the Creativity Rising, the introduction to read From Made to Stick, and a TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson. I forgot you actually do have another short reading about different theories of creativity that I'll get to here in a couple minutes. But as you read, I'm going to ask you to contribute to our Padlet. You can find that link in the Moodle for that week too. You may also want to take notes in terms of what you agree with and disagree with that TED Talk, because again, we will discuss and participate through a variety of activities next Wednesday. So again, think for a moment about what is creativity. When you read those introduction chapters, what came to mind? What made sense? What did you agree with? What didn't you agree with? And along those same lines, hopefully you at least understood that creativity is a deliberate intention. As the authors indicate, creativity is doing something in an original way, but is also useful, valuable, and appropriate. And we talked a little bit about this when we met last Wednesday. And my hope is that this will begin to make sense to you more and more as we go through activities and practices to increase your skills around creativity, both in and out of the classroom. So a few things I hope that you understood, again, was the myth versus fact when it comes to creativity, that creativity is not necessarily the result of innate talent, but instead it is the result of hard work, which I hope that you will do some of this over the course of the next 7 weeks. It is not necessarily associated only with the arts. Contrary to that, it cuts across all areas of life. And again, I hope to explore some of those different areas so you can see where creativity was apparent. Creativity achievement requires years of life experiences, so it is not just about being a kid and being able to color either in or out of the lines. And in fact, if creativity can't be taught, this class might actually be a gigantic waste of your time and money. So obviously we know that creativity can be enhanced through teaching and training, and that is why you're here. Another hopefully reminder or refresher from this past week was the formula that the authors provide for creativity. I'm going to make sure that you can recall what those letters stand for. So if you can't recall as you look through this presentation, be sure you look back in the text to figure that out. Additionally, what do these letters stand for? The V, DP, and IM. I can tell you that it was the formula suggested as a way to understand attitude, but what do those other letters mean? And what do you think, right? Do you think a formula can be used to understand attitude? That's something that we'll talk about next week. We know that creativity is made up of 4 distinct facets: person, process, environment, and product. And again, although these facets each have discrete attributes, the authors tell us that they do influence one another, and therefore create a system of how creativity works. And that's really what we're going to be looking at, different systems around creativity and creative problem solving. At the same time, there are some theories that have been linked to creativity. And so if you go into our Moodle site, you will see that there is a document that I posted that is called Theory of Creativity, and it's relatively short, but I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read through this. In particular, pay close attention to this area, the different theories that have been used to understand the creative process. Take note of what you know, what you don't know, anything that looks familiar, any names that look familiar. At the same time, I want you to also pay attention to some of the years that some of these creative theories were introduced, and how those theories might have changed as a result of now our 21st century learning. So after we look at the theories, I'm going to then ask you to also consider what you read in regards to convergent and divergent thinking. How were these defined in the book, and what is that dynamic balance that exists? What does it look like when the two of these are mixed together, and what might it look like when the two of them are separated? We know based on the reading that convergent and divergent thinking are really at the heart or the essence of creative problem solving, and so let's be sure that we understand what the two mean, both independently as well as put together. So once you can understand and answer some of those questions that I've asked, I'm going to ask you to watch this TED Talk from 2006, in which Robinson explores this idea of whether or not schools are killing creativity. One of the activities that we will do on Wednesday is to kind of dissect this talk and come up with some ways in which we might agree with him and ways that we might not agree with him. And then, kind of explore what we can do to make our schools better environments for creativity, not just for students, but also for teachers. So as we look ahead to next week, I'm going to again ask you to read, this is a repeat, read the Creativity Rising chapters 7 and 8, learn more about divergent and convergent thinking, as well as the creative problem solving process. I'm also going to ask you to start the book Made to Stick and read that introduction. As you read that introduction, I want you to think about the stories that have stuck with you over the years. What do you still kind of hold on to? What are things that, regardless if somebody told you that wasn't true, that you would still believe no matter what? There is a reference to Malcolm Gladwell. I'd like for you to know who he is and what his relationship is to the book. And then finally, what are the 6 principles of stickiness? Because those 6 principles essentially play out for the rest of the book, and where each of those principles is kind of dived into, I guess, more deeply as the text goes on. So if you have any questions, let me just also remind you to please visit our Padlet. I believe that a few people have already visited. So again, that link can be found in our Moodle. Let's see. Oops, sorry. It is here. So you're going to comment on both the Creativity Rising and the Made to Stick introduction. So thank you, Alyssa, who's already posted here. So if you can please add to that conversation through the Padlet in terms of ideas that stuck with you through this week's readings. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or call me. Don't forget that we moved our time to 4:30 for next week instead of 4:20. And again, be prepared for a lot of discussion and a lot of participation. My guess is that this is information that is new to you, or is at least being presented to you in a new way. So I want to make sure that you all understand and we can kind of unpack it together as we start to move into some of our projects that are coming up. So have a great week. Again, don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, and I will see you all soon. Bye.